interviews. I'm also going to be talking about series of other topics aside from interviews. We're going to be talking about VS Code, open sourcing, research, going into research, the basics of hacking, a lot more topics, basics of machine learning, and a lot more topics. And just hang on. It's going to be a 5 weeks program every Friday, 4 to 5:30. Well, sorry for starting late today. There were a lot of um, technical difficulties we had from our end, and we hope it won't happen next time. So just hang on and enjoy the program. So in today's session, we are going to be having two speakers. Israel Adetunji is an MSP, Microsoft student partner. And in the course of the program also, you would be knowing more about the MSP program if you don't know about it already. Israel Adetunji is an MSP, and he would be taking us on writing a resume and preparing for an interview. I need a job, I need a tech job or an internship or something like that. What are the basic things I should watch out for in my resume, and how do I prepare before going for that interview? And just sit down, grab a piece of popcorn or something, and enjoy yourself. So over to you, Israel.
All right, so good day, everybody. Whatever time it's at your end, whether you're in the afternoon or late in the evening or something. All right. So I hope everybody can see my screen, or can somebody see my screen? Somebody else apart from me.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Awesome. All right. So as Damilola said, I have like 40 minutes, so I'll just quickly run briefly through what we are doing during the MSP BeyondCoding. We have a lot of calls and a lot of meetings that happen on Teams, all right, and then most of them have been technical, how to work with Azure and then all those kind of things. So we thought that what if beyond coding, beyond your technical skills, what other things should you add to yourself as maybe an engineer, whatever you're doing? And also, this series of sessions is also for those that are not into coding, right? So let's say you are into UI UX, or you are into program management and all those kind of things. And then so we thought that we could have a session where we can bring everybody in together, right? And then we can all flow together, right? So this today I'll be talking about writing a resume and then preparing for an interview, right? But I won't really talk so much about preparing for an interview. Okay, I will leave that for Salman. I know that Salman is very, very equipped to handle that. But I will talk about writing a resume and then applying for jobs. All right. So my name is Israel. Okay, an MSP from Nigeria. All right. So I know I have a lot of guys here from that are not from Nigeria. Okay. So I'm an MSP from Nigeria. Okay, and I'll be taking you through the session. All right. So what am I going to talk about this day today? All right. So I won't talk about myself, but I will just share a screen that has my picture on it. Right. Then I'll just start with resume and then content and then structure and then applying for jobs, and then we'll be done. All right. So just flow with me and then if you have any question as I'm presenting, just drop it in the chat session. I will check this chat session intermittently just to see if there's any question. All right. So let's continue. Okay. So this is me. This is my face. All right. So I won't talk about myself. All right. But I just want to say that the reason why I want to talk about this evening is because or today, I know some of us are not in the evening, is because I've applied for a lot of jobs. Right. I've submitted my resumes to a lot of for a lot of jobs, and then I've gotten feedbacks from some of them. Right. So I think I have a little bit of experience to talk about writing your resume. All right. So and then I interviewed with Google early last year. Right. So and then so that's just all you need to know for now. All right. So what's a resume? I know that probably most of us that are on this call already know what a resume is. All right. So I just copied the definition from Wikipedia so that I won't. So a resume is a document used and created by. Oh, if you are, please mute your mic as you are coming in. All right. They won't hear when the next set of people are coming. All right. So to present their background, skill, and then accomplishment. All right. So basically, a resume is what you use to apply for jobs or apply for things, all right? But then in some countries, resume, a resume could also mean a CV, right? It could also mean a CV. In the US, it's called a resume, what you use to apply for job, right? But in the UK, I think it's called a CV. The same document that is called a resume in US is called a CV in the UK, all right? But then there's also a CV in the US, all right, but it's not the same thing, all right. So I think they use CVs for applying for maybe a research grant or you want to do some stuff, all right. But basically, the resume I'll be talking about is that page, that thing that you submit for applying for jobs, all right. So that shows your skills, what you can do, what you have worked on in the past, and where you have worked in the past, right? So just flow with me, all right. So the first thing I want to talk about in a resume, after I think everybody should know what a resume is by now, and then I've sort of explained it. All right, so I want to talk about what should be in your resume before how your resume should look like. Okay, because most of the time I've seen a lot of guys, a lot of folks that try to focus more on the structure. All right, let me just go to the next page. Right, they try to focus more on the structure of their resume than on the content of the resume. Right, but it's good that we understand that the content, the structure is secondary to the content and how you deliver your content. All right, how you write your content. Okay, so structure is secondary, all right. The content, what you really have on your resume, will determine how your employee will see it, and then how you deliver it, how you project yourself on your resume will determine how your recruiter or the person that wants to employ you will see you. All right. So now the next point that is on this slide is that you should start writing your resume now. Right. I see a lot of folks, they wait till when they want to, maybe you are in your first year in college or you're in your second year in college or wherever year you are, and then most folks wait till until they want to apply for an internship or they want to apply for a job, right, before they start writing their resume. And then they just do a bit of crash writing, and then they do crash writing. Oh, I want to write, and then they just write, and then they don't really have time to project their image, their true words on the resume, right? So if you are listening to me now and you don't have your resume already written, right? So I want to tell you that now, if you can start writing it as I'm talking, is the best time to write it, to start writing your resume, right? So even before I ever thought of applying for jobs, I already I had a resume. The reason why you should also start writing your resume even before you start applying for jobs is because you get time to project yourself well, and then you can, because for example you might have worked on a project, right? Let's say you wanted to apply for a job, or you want to apply for a job in your fifth year or your fourth year in college, all right, and then you did some projects in your first year. It's possible that you've forgotten those projects that could have made you look like a more suitable candidate for a job than than when you're in your fifth year and the project you did in your fifth year. All right. So if you had written it in the first year, you will probably not forget the project. All right. But if you wait till maybe the time you get to your fourth year before writing a resume, you might forget to write those. All right. So start writing your resume now. All right. So how do you get your content? All right. Because a lot of folks message me and then they send a copy of their resume and then it's almost blank. It's not really bad. If you write your resume now and then it's looking like you've not even achieved anything in life, that still does not matter, right? Even if it's half a page, all right, you've only done maybe 6 month internship somewhere, and then you know maybe one or two programming languages, and then you've only done one or two projects, all right. So some of the things that can, if you are among those people that maybe your resume is half page or something, one these are some of the ways that you can get content for your resume, all right, that you can have experience sort of, right? So if you do personal projects or even projects in your school, right, you add them to your resume. You can add them to your resume if it's fitting to the job, right? So you can add them to your resume, all right. So let's say and free jobs, if some people are like, if there are some jobs that you can just work on, even if they are not paying you, right? Just work on that. And then contribution to open source, right? So you can just go to GitHub, look for a project that you find or that you love to work on, all right? And then you can work on it, all right? And then internships, okay? So if you have taken internships, or you should try to look for internships to take, all right? So even if you are not in a technical field, all right, you can look for some things. Let's say you're in project management or something, even publications, all right? So let's say you write a post on Medium, okay, and then the post portrays your knowledge of the particular field that you are. I'm talking about those that are not into maybe programming, that are not into programming, all right? So you can just write, make some publications, and then you put them on your resume. Things that will show your competence, and then that will show your professionality in whatever you are doing, all right? So those are some of the things that you can start working on now to put as content in your resume, all right? So next thing is, what are the things that you should have on your resume, and what are the things that are not really necessary on your resume? All right. So obviously, your name should be on your resume. All right. So obviously, if you don't have, if your name is not there, how should a recruiter know you? Right. There's no need to talk so much about that. Right. Then your contact details. All right. And contact details, not in terms of your home address. Your recruiter probably applying for an international job or something. The recruiter is probably not going to come to your house to look for you. Okay. So what's the basic thing that they need is your email, all right, and your phone number. Okay. So, and if you're applying for international jobs, it's good that you put it in international standard. All right. So Nigeria now +234, and then you add your number, right? So that a recruiter can easily contact you. Your email, and then make sure that your email, I was listening to a podcast, and then one of a recruiter said that somebody applied for a job and the email was wrong. All right. So make sure that your email is not wrong. Cross check and make sure that your email is not wrong. Right. Oh, sorry. I thought I edited that. Your LinkedIn profile too. All right. So make sure that your LinkedIn profile is there. You can add a link to your LinkedIn profile, because normally it's recommended, if you're applying for jobs as an undergrad, right, undergraduate, that your resume be not more than one page, all right? And let's say you're somebody like, don't let me, okay, let's say you're somebody like Salman, and then you've worked on a lot of projects, and then your resume can be like 3 pages or something, and then you want to apply for a job, you can put all those projects on your LinkedIn profile, all right? And then add a link to your LinkedIn profile on your resume, okay? So that if a recruiter needs to know some more things about you, or needs to get more details about it, they can just always go to your LinkedIn profile, right? So try to make sure that your LinkedIn profile portrays you, add more things there, right? If what is on your LinkedIn profile is not so different from what you're putting in your resume, there's no point adding a LinkedIn profile. But if you have more content on your LinkedIn profile, then you should add it, all right? So then if you are a technical person too, all right, you can add your GitHub, okay, I don't have any question here. All right, so you can add your GitHub link to your GitHub profile. All right, so you can add a link to your GitHub profile too. Right. Then also, I'm sorry, my screen is just reloading. So while my screen is reloading, I want to say that you should really interesting. I get that back on. Right. So it's advisable that you really work on your LinkedIn profile, right? That you make your LinkedIn profile, because in applying for jobs too, recruiters can just search for some positions. All right. Let's say they are looking for a candidate. Okay. They can just try to search for a position. Can you guys see my slide?
Yes, we can see your slide.
You can see it, and I can't see it. I don't know why.
Yes, I can.
It's showing. Okay, it's showing. All right. So
Yes.
I currently can. I went to chat to see if there's a question, and then came back. and then I can't see the slide again. All right, so I don't know what is happening exactly. But I just need somebody to prompt me. What's the next thing after your contact details? I think let me just
Things
talk.
on your resume.
Okay, what
Things
did you say?
resume.
Yeah. After your LinkedIn, like after the contact details, then there should
Academic
be
details.
okay, academic details. All right, awesome. So Lola can just help me because I can't. It's just showing something that is not supposed to be showing here. All right.
It's no
So
problem.
all right. So if you have probably you okay your academic details, I'll still show us when I get to structure. All right. I will show us some of the how you should present them. All right. But concerning your academic details, if you are an undergrad, it's advisable that your academic details come before your work experience. If you don't have so much work experience, all right, so it's good that your academic details come before your work experience. So I'll still show some of the things that you should add in your academic details, right? And it's advisable that you only put post-secondary um academic details there, all right? So don't put probably your high school and all those kind of things, right? So it's important that you put that. Then your work experience, right? So if you have work experience, if you have any work experience, all right, you should put it there also. Okay. Then I think I'm on slide 8 right now. I'm on things that should be on your resume, right? I think I will just
No, you're
open
on
it.
slide 5 right now. Slide 8 right now. Yes.
I'm on it
That,
right now.
yeah, 8 right now.
Okay, so I just want to open it on my. All right, so slide 8 is not currently opening on my phone, but you
After
guys can see
after
it, right?
academic details, you have work experience.
All right, so I have okay, I have it already. So you have work experience, all right? So add your work experience. You have worked in any organization that is related to whatever you are applying for, right? Don't if you are applying for probably a software engineering position and then you have probably worked on maybe in sales, all right? They actually don't correlate. So don't add that. Add relevant stuff there, all right? So then another thing is project, right? So if you have projects that you have worked on, all right, add your projects to, okay? Then skill set, I'll still show us how to put those things. So I think I should just run through that because of time, right? So your skill set, all right, then your certificate and awards. If you have collected certificate that are related to the job that you're applying for, all right, and then awards, okay, so you should add that too, all right. So and then so I will still show us how they will all look like. All right. So is that the last thing on that page before I go to the next page?
Leadership experience, last
Oh
thing.
yeah. So awesome. So for example, if you are an MSP, all right. So let's say an MSP, you can add those things there. All right. So you have contributed to the community that you have. Let's say you're applying for a sales job and have held maybe in one sales organization stuff or whatever this thing, and then it's related. You see that I've been emphasizing on related, all right? So it's related to what you're applying for. Okay, so just add that too. Okay, all right. So next slide. So I'm on structure, right? All right. So after you have your content, you have everything that you have. How do you present it? Right. So how should your resume look like? Right. I think I already said that it's advisable that you it's one page. The resume is one page, right? Because especially if you're applying to positions in big tech firms, right, or big firms generally. Let's say you're applying to Microsoft now, and then they receive tons of applications from people from all around the world, right? And then your resume is 3 pages, really. And then in companies like Microsoft and I know of Google, they don't pass their resume through application tracking system. All right. At least I'm sure of Google and I think of Microsoft too. All right. So they don't, so it's like somebody that is trying to read it. So if it's like 3 pages, nobody has time to be going through your 3 pages. All right. So just make it one page. All right. So next slide. All right. So there are two ways that you could see a resume generally. It could be a single resume, like the one on the left. All right. And then it could be double row. Well, okay. So, hello. Is somebody trying to say something? All right. So I think I can continue. All right. So for single row, all right. So I think we can all see how the single row looks like, and then we can see the difference between the single row and then the double row. All right. The reason why somebody might want to use a double row is, let's say you have a lot of things that you want to put on your resume, and then using a single row might not accommodate the whole of the content. All right. So you can use a double row. All right. But the issue with double row is that if you're applying for to companies where they use application tracking system, all right, where they use ATS, ATS is actually just a software that scans through your resume and see your compatibility with a job posting, right, before passing it to a real person. All right. So I think ATS sort of, they have issues with double road resume, all right, but I think they're already improving on it. ATS are getting smarter, all right. So, oh, please mute your mic. Please mute your mic. All right. So it can be single row or double row. All right. So then the next thing, presenting your structure. All right. Structuring your content. All right. So you have your name. All right. So it's advisable that you put your first name before your last name. All right. If you want to add your initial, like it is here, Jane C. Smith. All right. So first name is the Jane. Right. That's the name that they call you. All right. Then I think everybody knows what first name and last name is. Right. So first name and last name. All right. And then you add your you don't necessarily don't need to add where you stay. Right. Especially if you're applying for an international job, and then your location might be the first thing that will discredit your, will make a recruiter like, oh, we don't want to employ somebody from this far, right? So you might not necessarily add it. But if, for example, you're applying to a position in Chicago, and then you stay in Chicago, all right, you can just add the place so that they can know that you are very, very close, and they don't need to work so much on transporting you and all those kind of things. All right. Then you add your mobile, all right, and then you add your email. Okay. So you should also, if you're, like I said, LinkedIn profile, you should add your LinkedIn profile too, all right, and then your LinkedIn profile. All right. So you can see that there's objective there. All right. It's advisable that if you're an undergrad, most big tech companies that I know, they really don't want objectives. Like they prefer that you don't put objective. All right. Except you are changing career. Okay. Except you are changing career, or you are, I don't know. There's really no point putting objective. All right. So then the next thing here, all right. So for your, that's slide 12. All right. So for education, all right, I actually got this picture or this section from a company's, how the resume should look like. All right. So you should write your school name, where it is located. All right. Graduation date. All right. Don't, if you are graduating in 2021, just, or you started college in maybe 2009, and then you are 2009 so far. Maybe 2006. All right. And then you are graduating 2010, right? Or 2020, and then that's like 2016 to 2020, all right? So, or let's say 2017 to 2021, all right? Let's talk in the future. Don't write 2017 to, and then you don't put any dates there, all right? Add the dates that you'll be graduating and put expected at the end, all right? So 2017 to 2021. Then at the back of 2021, you write expected. Right. So the degree that you are taking, maybe BSc or BNG, all right. And then if you have a good GPA, you had it. All right. So and then you can list if you have worked on, okay. I think what I really want to talk about is the coursework, right? Relevant coursework. All right. So if you're applying for a software engineering position, and then you've taken a course in college, maybe a data structure and algorithm course in college, all right, you can add it. All right, you can add courses that are related to the job that you're applying, right? That also shows that you've worked, you, at least they've taught you something like that, all right, and then you have experience something like that. If you worked on maybe class project or group projects that are related to the job you're applying for, all right, you also add those things. Okay, so I think we are good. All right, so like I said the other time, you should include only all post high school, post-secondary institutions attended, all right? There's no point including your secondary school, your primary school or something, all right? So I hope that's cleared already, all right? So the next slide, I'm almost done, all right? So work experience, okay? So if you have any work experience, all right, maybe you had an internship or something, you had the name of the company where the company is located, all right, the number of days that you spent in the company, or the number of months, all right. So you write the month year to the month year, all right. Or if you are currently working there, you write present, right? You write the position that you held. Maybe you are an intern software engineer, all right. So you add that, okay, all right. So and then you write the things that you worked on, all right, your responsibilities, okay. If you are still currently working there, but if you have left the position, you write your achievement, all right. You write what you worked on, and then we can see some of the example, all right. You should make use of bullet points. Make sure that in describing your work experience in your resume, the lines of the bullet points should be as short as possible. All right, it should be as short as possible. All right, so then the next technical skills. All right, so you highlight your relevant technical skills. Right, so list programming languages, and then if you are working with any framework that is necessary for the job that you're applying for, right? So you apply, and then there's something there that says that if it's on your resume, it's a fair game, all right? So when if you put any programming language on your resume, and then let's say you get to the interview stage, right? The recruiter has every right to ask you about. If you write it there, then it's a fair game for them to ask you. So if you are not comfortable with any language currently, you should not add it. All right. If you can answer some basic questions about maybe a tool that you're adding in your resume, right, you should not add it. All right. So I think that's that. I want to round up very soon. All right. So and then for your projects, all right. So if you have worked on projects, okay, so just write the project in. If it's a web project, or the project is located on the internet, all right, you can just add the link to the project. All right, then you can list the technologies that are used in the project, right? And then what else again? You can just explain briefly how you built the project, how you worked on the project, all right, so that your employee can, or your recruiter can know how much that you have done on the project. All right, I did not include a full page resume, like just to show a full page, but just checking. That's slide 10. Let me go back to slide 10. All right, so on slide 10, you can just check that double row resume. All right, so you can just see how it is laid out. All right, the work experience, the details like this. All right, so you have your details on that top corner, and then if you want to write objective, and then your name, your contact details is there. You necessarily don't need to make it as colorful as that one. All right, it's not necessary that you make it colorful, right? But you can add a little bit of styles to it. All right, and another thing I want to talk about really is the fonts that you use. All right, I didn't add this to this slide. All right, make sure that your font is good enough, right? Don't use more what's the name of this stylish font, right? Just use a simple font, Times New Roman, or use a very, very good font that somebody can see even from a very, very far distance, right? Don't try to make style with it, right? There's no point adding. Yeah, I think I should just talk about some cautions that you should take now. There's no point adding a picture to it, except it's a modeling job that you're applying for, except you are trying to apply for to be a model. There's no point at putting your picture on it. All right. There's no need for putting references there. All right. If the recruiter needs references, and which they will need if you've gotten to a particular stage, they will request for it from you. All right. So there's no point putting references on it. All right. So there's no point putting your date of birth on it. All right. Really, it can even deter you from getting a job. All right. So there's no point putting your date of birth on it. All right. So and then I think that's what I want. So I saw this beautiful site. Right. So whatever field that you are, or whatever you are doing, all right, the first site, all right, it has a list of resume examples for different jobs, a lot of jobs there. All right. So you can just check it out. All right. And then if you want to make use of some templates, Microsoft Office also has some resume templates, right? So I think the tool will be very, very, the first one especially will be very, very useful if you writing a resume. Let's say you are in accounting and you don't even know how your resume look, or your resume should look like. All right, so they have example resumes there, right? So you can just check that link out. All right, so any question for me? Any question for me? Any question?
Oh wow, nice one, Israel. Any question for Israel?
I think nobody has question. All right, so if you okay, can the slides be shared later? All right, so I can yeah, sure. I will share the slide later. All right, what else again? I think basically all right, so you can contact me on LinkedIn or something, or LinkedIn, just search for Israel Adetunji. My picture,
Yes.
the picture here, same thing as the picture. All right,
The question.
and then okay, awesome. Ask your question. Go ahead. I can't hear.
Simran.
I can't hear very well.
Hello?
Sometimes people include their extracurriculars and
Yeah, good afternoon. I have a question.
Okay.
Sometimes people tend to include their extracurriculars and co-curriculars as a part of their resume. How relevant is that?
Yeah, sure. If you have
Yeah,
space, all right.
I have a question. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm coming. Let me try and answer this question from Simra. All right. So if you have, what extracurricular does or portrays in front of a recruiter, is that it shows that okay, you're not just all for work. All right. So if there's still space on your resume, all right, at least my own resume, I have extracurricular, some of the things that I do. All right. So you can just have a small section or a small section where you have your extracurricular activities. All right. Next question, please.
Okay. Yeah. I heard from one of a senior brother of mine. He said if you are submitting a resume or an application for a job, that most of the jobs now, they especially for high demand tech companies, they put those resume into an artificial intelligence machine that will select those data. And they said they look for some keyword. Like now, let's say you're looking for past experience in IT, like in finance, and you are submitting yours in marketing. That the artificial intelligence machine will automatically delete your application. I want to know how true is that. That anytime we're applying for a job, we should streamline the CV. We shouldn't submit a permanent. You don't have a permanent CV. You just keep submitting and submitting. You streamline the CV to match the job application title.
Yeah. All right. So thank you very much, Emmanuel. That's actually true. It's called ATS. All right. The software is Application Tracking System, and I think I didn't really talk so much about it. All right. So most companies now, if there are a lot of guys that apply for job, they don't really have time to read through all the resumes. All right. So they just pass your resume through Application Tracking System. It's a software, right? So they have a job posting, all right, and then they have your resume, all right. So the software tries to compare your resume to the job posting to see if you're a good match. And how it does this is by checking keywords on the job posting and then on your resume. All right. So you should, like you said, the person that told you said, if you should not really be using one resume for all the different types of jobs that you're applying for. All right. But if for example, you're applying for only JavaScript related jobs, you can use one resume for JavaScript related jobs. All right. But if you want to apply for maybe C++ related job and you have different projects on C++ and JavaScript, all right, you should change the projects that you put there, right? So you should adjust your resume to the job detail, all right, to the job detail, right, the job thing that they post, all right. So I think that's cool enough.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Israel. We're like running out of time.
Yeah, I think someone
the second speaker has been ready. So
right.
our second speaker is Salman. Is a Microsoft student partner also, and an incoming intern at Microsoft in their UK office. So, Salman, are you there? can you mute your microphone, please, Iju?
All right.
Hello, Salman.
Hello, hi, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. So, Salman will be taking us on just interview, the act for interview, when you're in front of the interviewer, what would happen, because it's a whole big deal to prepare your resume and prepare for the interview. But then, as soon as you get to the front of the interviewer, please, can you all mute your microphone? Tabitha, can you mute your microphone? Tabitha. Israel, please, can you just mute your microphone from your end, since you're the organizer of the call? So someone will be taking us on. Oh dear. So someone will be. Oh, thank you very much, Tabitha. Someone will be telling us what's up in front of the interviewer, how to solve those technical interviews, the act for them, the cheat for them. Basically, is going to be telling us about that. So over to you, Salman.
Cool, so I'm just gonna get my slide up. Are we able to see this? Let's see. I'm gonna share my whole screen. Hopefully everything goes smooth in today, no disconnections. But yeah, no, Israel's presentation was amazing. I definitely learned a lot there. And sorry if there's any overlaps. There's a lot of good content that Israel mentioned, and I'm just gonna be building off on top of that. So hopefully you can see my screen. It's gonna load. Let me know when you can see it.
Yeah, we can see it now.
Yeah, I can see it now.
Yeah, first of all, thank you everyone for having me.
here.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, first of all, thank you everyone for having me. Yeah, it's really kind and awesome to be here. So yeah, I'm just gonna start the presentation. So cool. So today's talk is going to be on technical interviews and hacking the algorithms basically. Okay, so myself, as was mentioned, I'm a Microsoft student partner, and I am an incoming intern at Microsoft. So I hope I can help you. I'm not the best person to ask on this, but I'm going to try help you as much as I can, because I feel like giving back to the community, and that's the best way. So hope this makes sense to you, and we're going to move on. So first of all, I'm going to start by saying, it's not about what you know, it's about you being able to grow. Okay, going into these companies, when I was trying to tell people about this talk, I was talking about I mentioned that it's not just about your technical skills. There's more to it than that. Okay, it's about you having that growth mindset. It's about you being able to grow, you being able to learn, developing those skills beyond just a technical interview. So as you can see on the screen, we have a quote. It says, "It's hard to beat a person who never gives up," okay, by Babe Ruth. He's known in the baseball industry, so if any of you know him, you can resonate with that quote. If I'm to be working in an industry and I say, that I know everything, that's not gonna help at all, because you see how these companies, they're rapidly evolving. You're not going to go into say, like 20 years ago, they might have used CDs, they might have used the floppy disks. I'm not sure if anyone here remembers those, but we used to have a computer, and we had to use a floppy disk to use files and stuff. Then eventually you move to CDs, but when people moved to CDs, people were like, "Oh no, why are we moving to CDs? Floppy disks already work. There's no point. We have USB. Why are we moving to USB-C? It already works." There's going to be people who will remain stagnant in their viewpoints, and it's natural. That's natural. But moving your mindset into a mindset which is about growing, improving, is way better, I think, than trying to say everything and just staying stagnant. So yeah, big emphasis on that growth mindset, being able to adapt, and maybe hop on the new bandwagons. If there's a new technology, for example, last week I did a talk on Blazor. That's a new technology. hop on that bandwagon, try learn it, because in a few years people are going to be recruiting for those sort of technologies. University, a common thing with university is that they teach you a technology which perhaps might have been in the industry for 5 years already, because it takes time to update the syllabuses, the syllabus. And if you start in your own time, that's going to be really advantageous for you. It's going to really help you get that upper hand against everyone else. Cool. Moving on, I'm going to talk about 3 main focuses, and it's the combination and the balance of all of these. You can't do without any of these, okay? You need all 3 of these, at least in my opinion, okay? Don't take this as the gospel. This is just my advice, okay? So, of course, the main thing you want is technical skills, or at least the first part. You can't go into a technical interview without knowing no data structures, algorithms, problem solving. I'm talking about software engineering roles and those sort of, roles, because you need to be able to answer, you need to be able to do these things on the job. So yeah, data structures, algorithm, problem solving, practice this daily. Okay, I used to have I use the Microsoft app, Microsoft To Do. It's a to-do list, but you can also set up alarms. So every day I have this alarm, which is like, okay, do a leak code problem at 11:30 p.m. I didn't always do it at 11:30 p.m. I might have done it before 11:30 p.m., but it's the idea of having a schedule, just giving yourself one small thing every single day can make the biggest difference, okay? I might have tended to do a lot more than one, but it was my goal, I think, to have at least one, okay? So I'll get into where you start with technical interviews and, how to actually prepare a bit later. But yeah, that's the first step. Also, get some experience, okay? This doesn't mean get some experience in the technical field. This doesn't mean get some experience in the software engineering industry. This means just get any experience at all, okay? This could be you in high school. You helped out a fair, like an open day fair. This could be you working at a coffee shop. This could be you, being a head boy, or just being in a society, being in a club, socializing with others, trying to do something good, working as a team. That's one of the biggest things I feel like a lot of people skip on, because working with others is one of the most key points and one of the most important factors of, being a software engineer, I feel, because, you need to be able to work with others. If you visualize this and you look at a company, you have basically loads of different people. Imagine those people are microservices, and they're all microservices working towards one server at the top. They all need to work and communicate coherently with each other in order to help the server, okay? So, any job where you're, practicing teamwork, working with others, that also gives you a chance to talk about those experiences. You can look back and see how you can improve. And oftentimes are in interviews, you're going to be answering, technical questions, and not just that, but questions about your past experiences, how well you work on a team. It's very hard to lie about these situations. That's why they do these behavioral questions. So, the more you practice, working as a team, the better you're going to get at, working as a team. And, yeah, that's the least I could say for that. And finally, work on things that you enjoy, okay? This is huge for me. I myself I never got into coding because it was, a lot of people get into coding. I've heard, like, I've gone to uni and the people are like, oh yeah, it's because of the money. Like, for me, it's been a hobby of mine. I started coding when I was like 10 or 11 years old. It doesn't matter what age you start. It matters, I think, whether or not you enjoy it, I feel. Okay. You can, not enjoy it and do it, but, try. There's always going to be different aspects in coding which you can, tailor towards your own niche. For myself, I used to make codes. When I was like 11, I used to make these things for Mario Kart Wii. It's a video game. And, I would compete against people from Cambridge who would make these different cheat codes and, and make modifications to the game. At the time, I didn't realize I was coding. I didn't see it as competition as such, and, oh, we're coding. To me, it was fun. And yeah, so you may think, yeah, coding is just typing every single day at the computer. Pretty much is, but there's more to it than that. There's There's not just that, right? There's like different aspects. There's different things. There's machine learning. There's creating cheat codes. There's creating databases. There's data science. There's cybersecurity. There's anything now. Every single company, pretty much that you can think of, is using tech. In like Tesco has software engineering, like this sort of stuff. Just find your avenue, whether or not it be content. There's always going to be a place for you. Okay. So why technical? What's the point of actually learning data structures and algorithms? First of all, they're used everywhere. So believe it or not, algorithms and data structures, they power I put typo, but they power our everyday technologies. Searching, sorting, etc. So you have Bing, you have Google, all these companies, the search engines. In order to search, you need to use algorithms. You need to find the most efficient route. There's no point just implementing something because it works. You need to know the best way to do it. Okay. So yeah, they're used everywhere in many companies. It teaches you to think outside the box. So there are many solutions to the same problem, okay? But you'll never know how to improve without exploring, because if you just stick to, okay, for example, if I started, if I had a problem and it was like sort this list, and I did a bubble sort on it, I might think, okay, this is the only way I can sort a list. But there's other ways of doing it. But there's advantages, there's disadvantages, there's there's loads of things which you might not think about unless you explore different avenues. Okay, I'll get into more of that a bit later. And finally, they'll save you time. Okay, in your projects, being able to quickly devise a solution can save you so much time if you have the algorithm and data structure backing. Like last night or this morning, I don't know, I code at in the middle of the night. For me, it's fun. I was using an inbuilt function to find the cube root. I was using the math ceiling and then doing math.pow of that math. I was doing the math ceiling of the math pow to find the cube root of the third, right? Using the 1, 3. So that's how you do it in C#. But the problem is that it will round it to the nearest integer. So I was like, okay, that doesn't work. How do I just, should I like, for me, I was just like, okay, fine. I'll just implement my own algorithm. I'll just do like a loop. I'll check, okay, I'll find a cube of this number. If it's not, if that number cubed is not the number which we're searching for, I'll just increment it. I'll do a while loop, things like that. If you can just quickly come up with solutions, sometimes they're way more, is a lot easier than, having to like search for a library all the time. So it's actually really fun. You get into flow of the flow of creating algorithms, and you're like, okay, wow, it's actually pretty awesome. So yeah, they save you so much time. And here's a quote. So it's so much easier to suggest solutions when you don't know too much about the problem. This is a quote by Malcolm Forbes. So if you go to the Forbes website, it's a pretty popular website out there. Yeah. So this means basically look into the problem. You need to really understand the problem. And I'm pretty sure Einstein has a similar quote where he says, he mentions something along the line of 90% of the time. I can't remember the exact percentage, but like most of the time, I think it's like if you have 1 hour, spend 5 minutes trying to solve the problem, but 55 minutes trying to understand the problem. Obviously, you don't want to do it to that extreme in like a technical interview, but don't underestimate how long it takes to understand a problem. Most of the time, I like looking at problems and like trying to spot a pattern. Sometimes the wording can maybe throw you off a bit, but if you look at the outputs, you look at how does this relate, sometimes it helps a lot. So fully understanding the problem, don't rush over it. I think sometimes people will rush over the question so they can get straight to answering it. That doesn't always help in technical interviews because there's a lot of wording and trying to understand everything. So cool. So what are the steps for technical interviews or getting into data structures and algorithm? I'm going to first say get your fundamentals, loops, getting used to the language of your choice. So if statements, loops, cases, switch statements. Choose any language you want, and then stick with that. If you find that limiting, then switch to another language. So for my first 1 year of doing technical interviews, I stuck with doing C#. At least my first year of starting technical interviews. And yes, C# is the language which I do most of my projects in, but I came to the point where I was like, okay, I'm going to switch to Python because there's certain things like dictionary. If I'm creating a dictionary which I want to string and an int, I have to type dictionary string int dict equals new dictionary string int. Then you have to do the whole brackets, and then you have to close it. And then if you want to, change stuff later, if you want to pop, you have to, if you want to use a queue, if you want to use a, stacks, you have to use a different data structure. In Python, all you do is do square brackets. So at the beginning, choose whatever language you're familiar with, but over time you can realize that certain languages might actually be better for you in these situations. What I say about the difference between Python and C# in a technical interview, in my opinion, is that C#, you because it's typed, you can write out your, types, but in Python, you have to explain to them while speaking. So if you're used to speaking, then maybe Python's better for you. If you're not used to speaking, typing it in C# can, hint to the interviewer, okay, this is what they're doing, I can understand, as opposed to you having to explain it. Okay. Second, simple problems. So I'm sure many of you know the FizzBuzz problem. It's like if you have a number which divides by 3, output fizz. If you have a number which is divisible by 5, output buzz. And then if it's divisible by 3 and 5, output FizzBuzz. So start with those. Start easy. Start simple. Make sure you're getting everything right. Also check other people's solutions after to see if you're doing it in the most optimal way. There's no point doing a question, which is like a question and then like thinking, okay, this is the only solution. As I mentioned before, there's many ways to solving one problem. Okay, once you've got that, start doing slightly more advanced questions like reversing a linked list. That still might be considered pretty basic, but then going to palindromes, going to merging lists. Work your way through LeetCode, work your way through HackerRank. And then next, permutations, flattening trees, decoding, encoding strings, things like that. You can get into all these matrix questions, or these like 2-dimensional, multi-dimensional arrays, things like that. And that's definitely somewhere where I would recommend Python, because it's a lot easier to just do double square brackets than doing a dictionary of a dictionary. But finally, go back to step 1. Try to see if the problems you struggled with at the beginning, try to see if you can do those like way faster, not off memory. This is why it's spread out over 5 steps. I'm saying go back after you've done all of these, then try them. Okay, you don't want to, like a lot of people, I think they try to memorize questions. I think what it is that you're not supposed to memorize questions. You're supposed to, get used to solving the problems. Eventually, you might start to recognize patterns and be able to like solve these questions a lot faster. And I think it's more impressive as well. It feels more fun to solve a problem based off your knowledge rather than a memory thing. So sometimes I might like to do a question and like a year later do it in another language, or a few months later try see if I still can do it. Cool. Another quote. You see, I love quotes. One of the biggest quotes I actually spoke about was when I was 11. I remember a quote, but I'm going to talk about this one. So Franklin Roosevelt, okay? Dr. Roosevelt. One thing is sure, we have to do something. We have to do the best we know how at the moment. If it doesn't turn out right, we can modify it as we go along. Okay, this is huge for the actual interview, okay? Now I can talk about it later. I'll just briefly mention, when you're in an interview, don't give up, okay? If they're giving you a question and you're like, okay, you like have a blank mind freeze, your mind goes blank, keep trying. Just start out doing a brute force approach, okay? It might not be the most optimal method, but at least start with the brute force approach, okay? Once you work through your brute force approach, you need to make sure you also talk about your solution, okay? This is like an in-person interview or like over Skype. You need to make sure you're explaining to them what you're doing. Like use variables which are easy to understand. Not every interviewer might understand the language you're doing as well. That's the thing. You might, a lot of these interviews, they might actually have 5 languages you can choose from, but the person who's interviewing you might only know one of them. So using good variables, naming conventions, that's really cool, and that's really important, I think. Okay. So yeah, I said I would mention it briefly, but went a bit on a tangent. Okay, so how prepare for each kind of interview? Yeah, there's many kind of interviews. So prepare for all of those, I think. Pair programming. Find a stranger. Okay, it's not what it seems like. Okay, you never know what it's like to work on a project with someone who you're not familiar with until you do it, basically. Yeah, as I say at the bottom, strangers, like, for example, you can go to a computing society, you can work with people from different countries, like, for example, in the Microsoft Student Partner Program, and not a literal random person. Like, don't go up to a stranger because of me and say, hey, someone MKC told me to just find a random stranger. Just find someone who, you're not like used to coding with, because coding with a friend is much more, was much easier than coding with a stranger if you've never done it before, because you're used to that person. You know what they're going to do, you know which parts of the project they will work on. But when it comes to interviewing, when you do a paired programming thing, you're with a stranger unless you somehow are interviewing with a friend. Cool. Next, brain teasers. Okay, trivia. I feel like the best way to warm up for these are to just do riddles. I love riddles. Doing questions like there's this infamous question that people will talk about. I think like a pothole question. So it's like why are the pothole lids round? And it's like because it will fit or something, or like triangle. I can't remember the exact thing, but it's like just warm up with these. They're really fun. Just send them to your friends, see if they can do it, and like get in the habit of sending them to each other, perhaps. These aren't that common anymore, I feel, because they're seen as non-technical. They don't really measure your technical ability, so they still might ask these, but yeah, still prepare for it, but you might not get them. Cool. Whiteboarding. Okay, this is, I myself have when I went to uni, I put up a whiteboard, like a thin piece of like whiteboard paper, and I put it on the wall, and it was I could practice on there. I didn't practice coding on there, but I went to a uni and I think I practiced coding in one of the computer labs. So actually writing on a whiteboard is actually a lot harder than it seems, because there's more to it. there's more to it than it sounds like. Okay, you need to, my advice, start from the top left of the whiteboard. Try to write in a straight line. If you start in the middle of the whiteboard and you're writing code, you eventually might get to the bottom of the page and you'll have to like start curling around, and it will be a bit messy. So always try to start from the top left, then you have as much space as you want, and then you've got all the space on the right. It's a lot easier. Also talk whilst you do this. This goes for all the programming interviews. If they're just like talk whilst you're doing the question. It's called introspection, I guess. So they want to know your thought process. And this will be this is something which actually is very important, I think, because if you can code a solution and not say anything, but then what does that look like to the interviewer? That just looks like that you've memorized the solution, doesn't it? So explaining it to them is very important, because say if I'm your boss, right, and I'm gonna say, hey, I need you to explain to me how you wrote this function, because I need to pass this on to the other team. If I don't know, you can convey to me that you can explain a solution like that, and you're just gonna be memorizing solutions, then like how do I know you're going to be a good fit for the team? So explaining this in an interview, explaining your thought process, also helps, because if you don't get the solution, you're at least showing what you're thinking about. You could be like doing the brute force solution, and you could be like, oh yeah, if I take the if I do a merge sort on this, I could improve the time complexity, but the disadvantage of doing that is perhaps I could be using extra space if I'm assigning another variable up there. So at least you're showing that gives you opportunity to explain, like, okay, the advantages of using this, advantages of using an array over a list. So an array uses less memory in C# than a list, things like that. So it gives you that opportunity as well. I really like being able to talk about those things. So yeah, practice. Don't fake it. Okay, be yourself. Again, I'd rather, if I was a recruiter or interviewer, I'd rather hire someone who is true and honest than someone who is fake and pretends to be someone that they're not. Okay, at the end of the day, if you get the job, you're going to be working with these people like for, I don't know how long, but potentially like years, okay, maybe your whole life. If you're going to be putting on a fake persona in front of everyone else, they can probably tell, okay, I think, right? And, you know, there's no point trying to be someone you're not, and then in the real job, you're just going to be how you normally are. So I feel like, you know, some people might do an interview and they'll be like, oh, I didn't get the job. It just could, maybe you just didn't fit the team, right? At the end of the day, they want someone who will work, be a good fit for them. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you're not a good programmer. It just could be that you don't fit the team. There could be another team who you gel with completely. So you faking yourself to fit in a team, and then you being in misery whilst working with them is going to be way worse than you being yourself, finding a team which is perfect for you, where you don't have to fake yourself for a whole year. Then yeah, that's way better. Cool. Okay. Finally, you know, never give up. Okay. You may not get to the solution, but your thought process is key. So, you know, talk to us, talk to the people who are interviewing you, tell them why you're doing this, you know, never give up, start with a brute force, go to a more optimal solution, and try to get to a more optimal solution. Some people might get the solution, but not talk at all. As I said, if they can't explain what they're doing, they might not get the job. But if you at least show that you can, you know, talk to the interviewer and explain things, that's very, very important to me, you know. Cool. Obviously, you know, getting the solution is also good, but talking is key as well. Prepare, practice, and persevere. Those are the 3 Ps which I came up with for the presentation. So start from the basics. So prepare. So start with the technical data structures and algorithms. You know, start from the basics. Go through like reversing a linked list, doing permutations, flattening stuff like a tree. Go practice with others. This is different types of interviews. You're in university perhaps, or you're in the industry. There's loads of people out there who are also, you know, trying to practice. Just if there aren't people around you, there's loads of sites online where you can practice online coding interviews. I could try find the link and share that with you, or you can try, or if you want, you can message me on Twitter. I'll try to get back to you with that link. So it's literally you do online video interviews. I haven't done it, but I've heard about it, and it seems like people really enjoy it. Yeah, and then, you know, persevere. Your first interview may not be your last. I've never really thought that you know, perseverance is a bad thing. Perseverance is always a good thing. I don't think anyone thinks it's a bad thing, but you know, if you think after your first interview, if you don't get it, that's the end, banish that thought. It's a process. People often might see it as success, but not the journey towards that success. Okay, you need to love the journey and not hate the success. Okay, work your way up. There's always going to be ups and downs. Perhaps you could have ups all the time, but my first ever interview, I told the person I was preparing for like a C# 7243 exam, which I was, but I was, you know, I did the whole technical interview. This was back in 2018 when I was like a few months into uni, and the guy was like, so I did that whole problem. It was like 4,000 lines, I think, or 2,000. I can't remember. Oh no, it was 100. No, okay. There's so many different interviews. That this is the thing. This is what I'm saying. Persevere. Okay. So eventually I got that, and then I went to the actual phone interview, and he was giving me questions as if I was actually ready to sit that final exam. So you know, it's all practice. You learn from these things. And yeah, your first interview may not be your last. And then after my first year, got a job as a software engineer, and also was working at my university doing like open day stuff. So that was team bonding whilst also doing software engineer in London. And then I got another internship, well, my first internship, I guess, that year as well. So I had those 2 technical or software engineer roles in the summer and like a soft skill job, I guess, at uni. And then from there, it's just like keep doing that, group projects and stuff. On the side, kept doing my own projects. I was literally, whilst I was doing my HoloLens project at my internship, which is like an individual project they gave me to do, I was also building a website in Blazor. So, keep maintain that work-life balance, keep practicing. Yeah, even if you're doing a job, just keep practicing technical questions and doing leak code. I find them really fun now. I've always found them fun for some reason. I really love maths, so that might be why. Yeah, I think yeah, and then finally Microsoft, but that's something. I've applied a lot to Microsoft, and it's about perseverance. So never give up. Okay. Here's another quote. So I'm sure many of you know Winnie the Pooh. Okay. So rivers know this. There's no hurry. We shall get there someday. Exactly what I was just saying. Don't give up. Keep trying. Rivers will not stop. They will keep flowing. They're called rivers for a reason. Okay. Ponds are stagnant, or lakes. Yeah, ponds are stagnant. Rivers flow. Okay. They will keep persevering. The power of water is insane. Okay. So imagine that. Okay. Keep that in mind. Rivers know this. There's no hurry. We shall get there someday. That's exactly what the growth mindset is. You may not be there now, but knowing that you will get there, knowing that eventually you will, emphasis on the will get there, is very key. And that's coming from A.A. Milne, Winnie the Pooh. See, great stuff. Okay. Finally, here's my social media, Twitter, Salman MKC on Twitter, GitHub, LinkedIn, everywhere. What else? I think that's it. I don't really use anything but LinkedIn and Twitter and GitHub. But yeah, open source is fun as well. If you have nowhere to go, check out open source. I think that's it. If you have any questions, reach out to me on Twitter. My DMs are open. Happy to help any of you along the way. More stuff. Oh yeah, YouTube as well. I might release more insight into Microsoft life if I can, if that's allowed. But yeah, cool. Thank you everyone. Thank you everyone. Thank you so much for having me, Israel and Damila.
Whoa, Salman, thank you very much. That was very, very. It's plenty.
It's more than.
Well, so any question for Salman, real quick, before he leaves the call? Any question for Salman MKC of Twitter? I believe your fans will go and look for you on Twitter and bombard you with questions.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm open. Send them my way.
Great.
Okay, Sam, I have a question.
Okay.
Hi.
Hello.
Similarly, Hux.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes. Okay. Salman, can you just describe the interview process when you wanted to get the Microsoft internship? Like, what was the interview process looking like?
Okay. So I think I'm saving a lot of this for actually making a proper video on my YouTube. But okay. So there's different. It actually varies quite a lot. So
okay.
It varies quite a lot, but majority of these times at big companies, you will have like, a first round interview where you get a coding question sent out. And this could be like 3 questions, 4 questions, and they're like, okay, solve this. It could be like reverse a linked list, and then you have to code it, and it's like, okay, I'll code that. And then, once that's done, normally it goes to the on-site. And on-site, I enjoy on-sites, right? On-sites are the most fun for me. I feel like I'm a very open and I can be a mix of both introverts and extrovert, and I think that someone in the chat uses the word ambivert. So yeah, it's very if you fit with the company, it will be very easy, I think. For example, if you're an MSP already, you're an MSP because you like Microsoft, right? I'm hoping. If you don't like Microsoft, tell me why not, and I will try help you. But it's normally, if you fit well with the company, I think it will be very easy. All the technical interviews and final rounds, which I've really enjoyed, I think have maybe had the best outcomes. And it's like you gel with the team. Is one thing I didn't really mention is, and I should have mentioned, is that, well, I did mention it, but these people will be your co-workers. So having fun with them is actually potentially one of the best things you can do, because whilst you might potentially not get the job, you can have lifelong connections with these people. Like I got on, I don't mean to talk about myself in this way, but like when getting offers, I'm still like talking to these people in terms of like, hey, if you give me the job offer, if I don't accept it, I still want to keep in contact with you, because that's the kind of person I am. I want to stay in contact with these people, and if you have that vibe with them, potentially they could be your future colleagues in the future. So never yeah, I don't know if that really answers your question, but I will go into more detail about this on my YouTube, hopefully, one day. But yeah, if you gel with the company, what I'm saying is that probably it will be a lot easier. For myself, that's, I think, the biggest thing when it comes to on-sites. Yeah, having a bit of fun with them is really fun. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, hope that answers your question, Oluwatimilehin. Is that it?
Yes. Thank you for that.
Oluwatimilehin, right? Is that it?
Yes, thank you.
You got your name. Cool.
You did.
Took 2 tries. Cool.
Oh yeah, thank you. In Nigeria, our names are like sentences. Oluwatimile is a really, really long sentence. Any other question for someone named Casey of Twitter, of Microsoft?
Oh my.
All right. Can I add something to what Samuel said or something?
Oh,
All right.
okay.
So basically, I forgot to add it because of time the other time. I think and then I typed it into the chat. Just continue to apply. Right? Just continue to apply. Send out your resume. Some people have these mentality that, oh, Microsoft is too big for me, so don't let me apply. But just apply, keep applying and keep applying. So
yeah, I didn't expect to ever get into the MSP program. I didn't expect to have a recruiter ever reach out to me from sorry, my phone went off. But like, I didn't expect, people to get back to me from these companies. Just apply. You'll be surprised. And if you get through to any of these stages, let me know. I'll try help you.
Okay, wow, that's very awesome. We've shot
another quote.
Any question?
I was gonna say one more quote. Or maybe not a quote, but it's a lesson. Okay, when I transferred universities, it's like you have to call up each of these individual universities. That one application can change your whole life. Okay, so don't be afraid of failure, because failure is your biggest fear. Should not be like failure. Failure is growth mindset. Learn from your mistakes. Learn, and don't call them mistakes. It's a stepping stone. The Edison quote, Thomas Edison, the person who made the light bulb, it wasn't 1,000 failures. It was 1,000 steps. So yeah, just putting that out there. Growth mindset.
Whoa. So I guess one big takeaway for me is just keep on applying. After receiving the rejection letter, make some modifications, improve on yourself, and apply again. Receive another rejection letter, improve on yourself, and apply again. I guess that's like one big takeaway from this program or from this call today. Thank you very much, Salman. Once again, we're sorry for starting late, But then Beyond Coding continues again next week, 4 to 5:30 West African time, and you can just convert it to your time zone. And next week we will also be having some awesome speakers come to talk to us on some awesome topics. But I guess that will be all for today if there is no other question. Thank you very much. Good day. Over.
All right. Thank you. Bye bye, everybody. Bye bye.
Bye.
You can unmute your mic and tell us
Bye.
bye. All right. So bye.
Bye.
All right.